Hello and welcome back to the Stronghold. I'm the Magi, and well, I'm inclined to think that Balmor Battle Mage Captain is not only one of the more interesting cards in the recently acquired starter preview decks, but is also a very interesting legendary creature. Unfortunately, the Izzet Spells deck is notoriously difficult to balance out, and I think Balmor is probably best served as a commander. But before we get into all that, I'm sure you know that the 5-year foundation set in Standard is going to change a lot of things, not just in Standard, but in particular for budget and free-to-play players. What you may not know is you can make a big impact around here by making a funding choice through our Patreon. Whether you're just helping keep the lights on every month, or you're making contributions towards specific content or hardware upgrades, just know all the Patreon funding goes back into the community. Now, what were we talking about? Oh yeah, right. Alright, so what is it about Simic Spells that makes it so hard to build and ultimately play? Well, it has to do with card balance. You see, Simic Spells generally want you to have permanents that pay you off for casting spells. But of course, they also want you to have a critical mass of spells for which to get paid off of. And trying to get those to balance out is exceedingly difficult. It is a little bit easier when we look at cards like Balmor that is in itself a payoff, and Dragon Fodder, which gives you creatures and is a spell. But overall, most of your Izzet Spells decks want to run card draw and or direct damage creature removal, and it makes it very hard to balance out. And that is where the Brawl deck is here to lend a hand, because not only is the format a little more forgiving on the time crunch and give you a little more time to set up and execute, but also Balmor having a repeatable casting ability as your commander comes in handy, because you basically only bring it out when you're ready to go off, so to speak. And since it's a singleton format, it's also a little more forgiving, because if you find that the deck doesn't work for you, or maybe you just don't enjoy playing this style of deck, you really haven't put a whole lot of assets into it. You may have crafted a copy of a card, for instance, but you didn't craft 4 copies of it. And even better than that, the list that I have put together today is actually built almost entirely of cards that are already in your collection or should be. So now let's talk about balance, and I've kind of broken the deck up here. Obviously, Balmor Battle Mage Captain is our commander. It's a 1/3 2-mana flyer. When you cast an instant or sorcery spell, creatures you control get +1/+0 and gain trample until end of turn. So what you're really looking for is having one big alpha strike turn. Now, beyond that, the mana base is pretty basic, 14 islands, 14 mountains, and in total, there is 37 lands here to speak of. I won't go through all of them. If you're familiar with my material, you're going to recognize most of these pretty obviously. The next column here, moving towards the left, are just general enablers, and again, I'm not going to go through every single one of these. Spectral Sailor, Fanatical Firebrand, Plume Creed Escort, and Micromancer. Micromancer is the one that's interesting here. A 4-mana 3/3 that lets you tutor up a 1-drop. And we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 targets for it to go get. So you're never going to come up empty, and it really gives you an opportunity to get situationally what you need. Now, beyond that, in this small column here, we've got enablers like Mocking Sprite that make your spells cheaper, Burrell and Kari Zeb, a 3-mana 2/4 first strike menace. When you cast your first instant or sorcery spell each turn, you may cast a spell with lesser mana cost that shares a card type with it from your hand without paying its mana cost. This is just hugely enables things. If for some reason you don't, create First Mate Ragabond, a legendary 2/1 red monkey pirate creature token. It gains haste until end of turn. And of course, we've also got Archmage of Ruins, 5-mana, 3/6 giant wizard, which once again lowers the cost of your instants and sorceries. And whenever you do cast an instant or sorcery, you get to draw a card to replace it. Now, beyond that, we've got a total of, if I counted right, 33 spells, sorceries, instants, things of that sort over here. A lot of them also allow you to draw cards in addition to other effects. We've got generally a good mix. And then the remaining 14 cards are your payoffs. We've got Gitu Lava Runner, which gets hasty and bigger if you have things in your graveyard. Swift Spear, I think everyone knows that one at this point. Drake Hatcher, that lets you make more tokens and allow you to go wide. Emberheart Challenger, I think this is another all-star everybody knows. Firebrand Archer deals damage when you cast any non-creature spells, so not just instants and sorceries. Heartframe Emulator, Prowess, again, Prowess triggers off those similar non-creature spells. Stormcatcher Mentor, again, has Prowess, lowers cost. Fire Spitter Whelp deals damage whenever you cast a non-creature. Enigma Drake just gets big. Its power is equal to the number of instants and sorceries in your graveyard. Lightshell Duo, if you've been around Standard last year or so, 3/4 Prowess for 4. When it enters, you get to Surveil 2, do a little bit of card selection. Tolarian Terror really is just that. It's cheaper the more instants and sorceries you have in your graveyard. And similarly, Eddie Crab not only gets cheaper as you put more instants and sorceries in your graveyard, but it allows you to tap down up to 2 target creatures when it enters, and it has flash, so that can really help with your Alpha Strike turn.
Masahak. Data requires scrutiny.
So there we go, guys. That's the deck. You've seen it in action. I think it works pretty well as expected. I firmly believe Balmor is best served for us budget players as a Brawl commander. And this deck might just be perfect for the upcoming Midweek Magic event built around Foundation's commanders. And before we go, while every member of this community is important to me, I just wanted to take a moment and give a shout out to those patrons providing financial support and keeping the Stronghold from being a complete financial black hole. And of course, let me leave you with some suggestions for your next step here on the channel.